Well, that's not fair. My name's Earl. I'm an alcoholic. Hi, everybody. Frankly, I'm exhausted already. This is crazy. That man's certifiable right over there. That guy right there. That's entirely too much energy for a grown man to have. Man, I was up here and all of a sudden I looked down and the water, is like a scene from Jurassic Park, you know what I mean? When the T-Rex is coming, you know what I mean? Boom, boom, boom. This whole thing was shaking up here. I thought we were going down. It was... So yeah, my sobriety date, y'all do that here. My sobriety date is November 6, 1980. I got a couple home groups. I got North Scottsdale Fellowship Hall, Cave Creek. I got when I'm in LA on a regular basis. So Tuesday and Thursday I do the Big Book study and the 12 and 12 study at Tuesdays and Thursdays Moore Park 9 a.m. And for Mondays and Fridays I go to Colfax and Addison at the 9 a.m. meeting. So you blink, I'm sitting in a meeting. I'm all over the place, and I've never left you. I've stayed with you from the first day to this. I've stuck close, and not because I was smart, but because I just didn't have any place else to go. That's why I did it. I want to thank the committee for asking me to come share here. It's always an honor and a privilege to do something like this, to be a part of this. I want to thank Joshua and Chris and Billy for coming to get me at the airport. That was hysterical. I'm an in the moment guy, which is a great place to be when you start to get old and you have no memory, right? You just go ahead and let it go and be in the moment, because I can't remember 5 minutes ago. But I came off. So when I fly out to places like this, I just launch off into space. You know what I mean? I get on an airplane. Not my favorite thing. I get on an airplane and rocket through the sky at 500 miles an hour in a little metal cylinder. It seems a very normal thing to do, right? I do that, and I land in a city, and I just get off the plane wondering, I wonder if there's going to be somebody that I'll recognize. I'm clueless. Most people have a phone number and a name, and they're all prepared. I'm not that guy, right? I just go on faith, man. And I come off the escalator, and I haven't hit the ground floor yet. I'm on the escalator, and I look up, and there's three guys. These three guys are standing there, and they got three signs: Earl H, and there's the big guy standing there with a sign that says Tiny, right? And anybody that knows my story knows that's a big part of my story. So I'm laughing before I even got to the ground floor. I'm on the escalator coming down going, I'm going to love Macon. And I got to tell you, as far as I'm concerned, my home group right now is the prepaid Georgia Conference in Macon, Georgia. These are my people. So you like it or not, you got me. I'm with you. And also I want to say, Alexa, Blaine, Tony, congratulations, welcome. You're not props to us. You're not things that we bring up on stage and applaud and give books to and think, we're real great for doing that. That's not what just happened. What just happened is that you were very sincerely and lovingly welcomed to Alcoholics Anonymous. That's what just happened. And I've been here for 36 years, 11 months, and a few days, and I stand there and look at you guys for 2 days, and I think, wow, there's just so much joy ahead of you. You think the buzz party's over. I respectfully disagree, man. You're gonna find out. It's good. He tried to protect you. He told no dancing with the new people, right? But you're going to find that you're going to have a lot of fun in here, and that the buzz is not over. You're going to catch a big buzz in here that's going to rival and beat anything you've ever done before. I know that sounds crazy, but you just buckle up because it's quite a ride. Anyway, my story real quick. Because there's pizza waiting, apparently. I didn't start drinking until I was 12. I waited. I waited as long as I possibly could. I had desperately needed a drink for quite a while. I did, man. I grew up in a violent home, and I mean a violent home. And I've been looking over my shoulder since I was 4 years old. My old man was a piece of work. This is not a person that ever should have had children, but he had 3, and I'm the last man standing, and it was a rough hoe, let me tell you. And but it was what I knew. It was just what I knew. So I was growing up, and I was the kind of kid that disappeared if you took your eyes off me. If you took your eyes off me, I was quiet, but you took your eyes off me, I was gone, man. And we lived up in the canyons, and I used to hop over the back fence around dusk, and I'd go down and find the deer trails and get down on a deer trail, and I'd pull up off a deer trail and just sit there like a rock. And as dusk came, the deer would come down the deer trails, and I just watched the deer walk by. So I was tripping young, right? I was tripping on wildlife. And then I got me a piece of a salt lick, and when you're in Bel Air, California, that ain't easy to come by. I got a piece of salt lick, and I would take that down, and the deer would walk by, and I'd stick my hand out with the salt lick, and the deer would stop, lick the salt lick in my hand, and walk on by, and I got accepted by deer. And to me, that was worth the beating that I was going to get when I started hearing somebody yell, "Earl!" Run back out, pop over the fence, bam, 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 now let's have dinner. And we go have dinner and act like nobody was bleeding, right? And so, and they just thought, this kid's acting out, something going on with this kid. So they did a test on me, and did a bunch of tests on me, took me to, a psychologist, right? And turned out, they did a bunch of tests, and it turned out I had a real high IQ. I'm not bragging, because I do not have it anymore. It is gone. But as a child, I had this was the case. So I took another test, and there was this boarding school. It was like think tank school for boys, and they were from 9th to 12th grade, and they had decided they were going to do this great experiment where they were going to have their first 5-year men. So they sent out these exams, and they had kids taking this 5.5-hour exam to be first 8th graders in this school, to the first 5-year men in this think tank place. And 16 kids passed the test, and I was one of them. Right? So how I found out I was going to boarding school was my father walked into my room. I'd been in military school already, got kicked out of that for attempted murder when I was 11 years old. Right? I don't usually tell that, but there you go. A little tired tonight. Things are popping out. Just, I get this tired, the filters go away. So this is a very interesting situation for me to be in right now. Like 1,000 people out there, and I'm wondering, what am I going to say? So anyway, I'd been kicked out of that, and he walked in my room and said, "Get in the car." And I go, "Oh, all right." I went out to get in a car, and there was other relatives here, and we got in the car and drove. We ended up at this place. I got out of the car. My father got out of the car. Nobody else got out of the car. And he put a suitcase down next to me, shook my hand, said, "This will make a man out of you," and got back in the car, and everybody drove off. Now, the feeling was I just got thrown away by the people who knew me best in the world, and I didn't know what I'd done wrong to get tossed out like that. I mean, it was no, party at my house, but it was all I knew, and all of a sudden they were gone. The fact was I was being given an opportunity for a wonderful education, held me in good stead to this very day, but I'm not a fact guy. I'm a feelings guy, and if it feels bad, it is bad. That was how I was, and they just threw me away, and I called home 3 days, crying, get my mother on the phone, just go, "You got to come get me, man," because I knew this was a mistake. There's 250 boys. They had scoured the earth to find 250 of the brightest, most disturbed young men they could find, and throwing us all in this, like Lord of the Flies in this joint, right? I mean, it was crazy. And there were 249 teenagers and me. I was the youngest and the smallest kid in the whole school, and I was the only 12-year-old. All the other 15 kids in the 8th grade with me were 13 years old. Everybody else were teenagers. I knew I didn't belong in this joint, and I made that very, very clear, and I think it very succinctly made that point to my mother on the phone. I said, "So, under these circumstances, it makes perfect sense to me that you would come and get me." I will even go so far as to say we could call this a parental mulligan. We could just act like it didn't even happen. I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to bring it up. Just come get me, and we'll act like this never happened. In the background, you hear my father, "Hang up." And my mother, "Got to go, honey." Click. And after 3 days, it was like something broke inside me, and it was like, you know what? You don't want me, I don't want you either. And I turned my back on my family, and I pretty much never went back. And I started, making my way, man, around this campus, and I met Tiny. Every high school got a guy named Tiny, 6'4", 240, plays guard on the football team, like 17 years old, you know what I mean? This big kid. Actually, he found me, and He walked up to me in the quad. I'm just walking around trying not to make eye contact with anybody. I'm 5 feet tall, 103 pounds, you know. Just a little baby, right? And he saw me and he goes, "How you doing, punk?" And he slapped me in the back of the head and sent me and my books flying. Just sprawled out in the quad in front of all these other kids, right? And he thought he just smacked some little guy who'd showed up on campus, you know what I mean? He didn't realize he just smacked somebody who's willing to die over this, right? So I just stood up and walked over to Tiny, and I jumped up and popped him as hard as I could. Man, I hit that guy from my shoes, right? Which had no effect on Tiny whatsoever. You know, his head just kind of went back like that, and he looked down at me and he said, "You got a lot of guts, kid." And then he beat the crap out of me, right? And as I'm taking the beating, I'm thinking, this is going pretty good, right? Because, I'd taken a beating before, you know what I mean? But I was terrified of this guy, right? He was this giant person, right? But he had said, "You got a lot of guts." My violence had masked my fear. So my first tool for living was, when frightened, attack. People don't know how scared you are when you're coming at them, So, I just kept getting up and he kept knocking me down until it just got embarrassing, you know what I mean? I just got laid out finally, and everybody was just like, "That kid don't give up." That's all I wanted out of that beating, was that, you couldn't come at me for free, right? So I went back to my room, sat there waiting for the bleeding to stop, and word spread across this campus like wildfire. "Watch out for this little Hightower kid. He's a maniac. He attacked Tiny," right? Which has nothing to do with who I am. And the cool guys came around, and my life was to begin that day. So I'm sitting in there, and Matt came by, and he stuck his head in my dorm room, and he went, "Hey, man, you want to smoke a joint?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And I didn't even know what that meant. I just heard, "Do you want to come with us?" He could have said, "Look, we're going to go kill the Spanish teacher. You want to come?" I'd have said, "Hell, they got me in Latin. I'm in." Right? Because I just need to hook up. I was alone in the world as far as I could tell. And we picked up Steve, and Steve had a Tupperware container wrapped in aluminum foil that was full of cheap red wine. Cheap. I resist calling it wine. It was no grapes involved red wine, you know what I mean? It is the fortified stuff, right? So we went behind the dorm, 2 13-year-olds and 12-year-old babies, and we just stood there, and he fired up the joint, and he took a hit, and I handed it to me, and I took a hit, and it burned my lung. I mean, ugh, right? Handed that over, like, give me that wine thing, right? Took a pull on the wine, that went down and hit the bottom of my stomach, and that vapor action thing that happens with the real fortified stuff, you know what I mean? Just kind of kicked back up on me. I'm like, oh my God, that's terrible. Give me that joint again. Let me try that again. Get off of that, you know what I mean? And that just kind of went around, and I mean, it happened. That thing that makes me vitally, mentally different from my fellows occurred, and suddenly I was standing there comfortable with the people. I was comfortable standing where I was standing, doing what I was doing with the people I was doing it with. And I never felt like that before in my life. And I don't know, is it the pot? Is it the wine? Is it the fact I'm standing here with my 2 very close personal friends, Matt and Steve? I don't know, and I don't care. I feel great. And now I gotta acknowledge that. We all, it's true. In the beginning, it works perfectly. It does exactly what I wanted it to do. I drank and used because I loved the effect produced by alcohol. That's why I did it. I did it because it was the fear killer. And the fears, I got a barrel of emotions inside me, right? And up here on the surface, there's all kind of feelings swimming around. I felt 15 things since I got up here, right? But way down at the bottom of the barrel, that deep undercurrent of my emotional life is fear. Self-centered fear, manifesting in 100 different forms. That's what runs my emotional being, which means it runs my life. And I can drink through those surface feelings. I can drink through that in 15 minutes. But I got to drink at that fear. So I don't drink socially. I shouldn't even mention it. I have no experience with it whatsoever. I've seen people do it. I find it disturbing. I drink at the fear, so I drink to get drunk. I drank to get drunk the first time I drank. I drank to get drunk the last time I drank, because that's what I do. I don't drink to socialize. I don't drink to get along, because I don't care about you. I drink to get drunk. The point in the big book I read where I went, well, all right, were the words, and then oblivion. When I read that, I was like, well, okay. These people get it, right? I'm here to wipe out any memory, any feeling, anything that's going on. I'm not here to just breathe a sigh of relief because that ended after the first day. I exhaled fully and completely the first time I got high. And that was the last time I exhaled fully and completely, because it had me on drink one, and I was off to the races. I got alcoholism. They say if there's a genetic predisposition, all you got to do, you look at my family tree, you go, well, that kid didn't have a chance, man. I mean, it's just alcoholism any way you look. It's just people dropping left and right all through my family. If you don't shoot us, we live a long time, but most of them drank themselves to death. My mother's last image of her father was standing on his bed yelling to get the damn snakes off the floor. I mean, those are my people, right? DTs. Oh, God. Yep, family tree. 23andMe. Alcoholism, right? That's it. I just came back drunks, right? So that was humble beginnings for me. A little pot, a little wine, right? I'm a child of the 60s. 13 was pills. The only reason I took a pill was I went on a 10-hour pass from school, and a guy said, would you like a couple pills? I said, yes, I would. He gave them to me. I swallowed them, and then I said, well, what were those? Which I think is how we do things, right? The only reason I just want to know, am I going up or down? I don't, should I prepare to fall down? Should I just lay down now? Or should I go get a can of paint out of the garage because we're painting the kitchen right now? You know what I mean? Which way are we going? And I don't really care. I don't care. Look, I have preferences. I prefer alcohol, barbiturates, heroin. These are a few of my favorite things. I like those. My idea of a good night, sitting around checking my pulse. You know what I mean? Just right in here. Yep. Okay, good. There's another one. Good. I don't need a window. I don't need a woman. I don't need a television. I don't need it. I just right in here, man. Heart and lungs working. I like that. But if you don't have any of those things, I'll take a big bag of the cocaine. Sure. If we can't go down, let's go up. Right? Perfectly happy, driving the freeways, decoding license plates. Let's go. Right? I'm fine. I've had those conversations where you're sitting with a buddy and you just swallowed God knows how many, black beauties, and you just look at each other and go, and this is in Los Angeles, and you go, I think we should drive to Seattle. And then if your friend go, that sounds perfectly reasonable to me, and you're in the car and off we went. That didn't end well, by the way. But what's important about that is this. It wasn't about up or down so much as it was about I had to get out of right here, right now. Because right here, right now, I'm comparing my insides to your outsides, and I'm losing every time. Right? I'm restless, I'm irritable, I'm discontented. I'm filled with fear. I can't get all right in this moment. So I got to get out of here. And alcohol was the primary factor in my life, the one constant. I talk about drugs, yes, because I'm a child of the 60s, and we were very focused on the drugs. Our parents were the alcoholics, and we weren't going to drink ourselves to death. We were going to kill ourselves in a whole new way, right? That was what we were going to do. But here's the truth about my life. There was only one thing that was on the table every single day: alcohol. Alcohol was on the table every single day, and there's a reason for that, in my case, because I'm an alcoholic. I'm not messing around. I'm not socializing. I'm not experimenting. I'm getting out of right here, right now, because that's a desperate need for me on a daily basis. So, the alcohol, drugs are completely unreliable. There's no quality control going on out there. You don't know what you got till you get it in your body. But you get a fifth of Jack Daniels, you get yourself a good quart of gin, you're going to be all right tonight. You know you've got what it takes to get out of right here, right now. It is there. It is available. You will get the rest of the way if the drugs won't get you there. You do so much cocaine, you can't get your mouth open anymore. And it's 7 o'clock, and the party just started, and you're on lockjaw, Don't worry about it. You suck a little gin through your teeth, you're going to be all right. Right? You do too much acid, you're getting real spooky. Don't worry about it, Jack. I'll get you back in the comfort zone. Just stick with that alcohol, man. That's the great equalizer. That's your best friend. The rest of this is just fussing around with all these other hippies sitting around here. You know what I mean? You got to just, I was one of them, right? And, 14, I started doing psychedelics. The only reason I did a psychedelic is a girl named Debbie. Very bad girl, Debbie. I will love her till the day I die. Debbie said, would you like to drop some acid? And I said, I believe I would, Debbie. having no idea, again, what we're talking about. And she took out a lipstick tube and spun it up, and on the end of it was this tiny little pill. So I took it, popped it in my mouth, and swallowed it. And Debbie said, did you take that whole thing? And I said, well, yes, I did, Debbie. It was a very tiny pill. As if that somehow meant something, right? And Debbie said, well, that was 3 hits of white lightning. I love it when I hear that. This woman over here, you're busted, lady. That was hysterical. She just went, oh! Yeah, that's right. Next 2 days were very interesting. What little I remember of them. About 650 hits later, I got classified legally insane by the military, but that's a whole, we don't have time for that tonight, right? Sidebar. 15, I started shooting dope. The only reason I shot dope is on a boat in Marina Del Rey, California with a girl named Cammie. It was a lovely girl. Cammie said, would you like me to stick this in your body? And I said, I am certain of it, Cammie. You know? I just throw an arm out, you know what I mean? I believe the term is hit it. And she did, and it was one of those shots where you just go, right? And on the way down, all I was thinking was, if I'm not dead, I am doing that again, because that was awesome. Yeah, man. My new best friend, Cammie. Jeez. Yeah, I love us. We're laughing. It's the healing, man. You know, newcomers, you think you're going to come in here and people are going to be all serious. Oh, dark, dark time. It's terrible, terrible, terrible. Bleak, bleak, bleak. Hell no, man. We hit it hard. You know what I mean? It was good till we burst into flames, you know? Yeah. You get it now? See, they're applauding flames. That's where you are. The truth will out. Anyway, so I'm hanging out, right? And I'm doing all this crazy nonsense and drinking. And I'm in this boarding school while I'm doing all this. Going on 10-hour passes, you know what I mean? Cars pulling up, just rolling me out of the car on the way and taking off. When I come back to campus, Mr. Hightower's checking in. I'm on the ground going. Oh, man. Got the third high. In 50 years of the school, only 2 other guys ever got more demerits than me. I lived and studied on that joint, usually kicking something. And 16, I decided, I believe 4.5 years of Latin is enough. I quit. And my father came back in my life, said, you've gone insane. Threw me in my first nut house. They put me in for 3 months of observation, a year of rehabilitation, which I thought was a little excessive. All right, so I talked my way out of that joint and went back out and doing what we do to do what we do on a daily basis, right? And they threw a net over me again and hauled me back in there. And I escaped the first day. Because I knew this how the game worked, right? You get in the nut house, you got to leave before they get the Thorazine in you, right? If you let them get that 3 cups of pills a day in there, man, you're leaving when they say. I'm telling you, because you got 2 speeds now, slow and stopped. That's it. Because the first break went horribly wrong. I was sitting at a table with my buddy Kilday. Kilday was completely nuts. And I was going to use Kilday as my diversion to make my busting out of the nut house, right? And because all you had to do to flip Kilday out was just say, Kilday, how you doing? And Kilday just, wow, Kilday, right? And everybody, whistles are going off, bells, all the people in white coats are running after Kilday. And I thought, this is perfect, right? All I got to do is just flip Kilday out, and then I'll get her going that way, and I'll run that way, right? So I did. And I'm, taking shuffling around in there, doing my thing, and I'm having a big break. And at lunch, we're sitting at lunch, and Kilday, what are you doing? And Kilday just, Kilday flipped out that way, and I went, go! And I'm hauling ass. That's all I got. Right? Arms are working, the whole thing, right? And it demoralizing as hell. You're looking down going, what the hell is going on? And over the loudspeaker you hear, Ed, when you got a minute, will you grab Earl? He's making a break for the door. And Ed's in there eating a sandwich going, yeah, I'll get him in a minute. He ain't going nowhere. I was like, this is bad, man. So the next time I was in the nut house, I knew you got to get out before they get the Thorazine in you, right? So I was in the intake process, and I was like, yeah. Good thing you guys got a hold of me. Hey, look at that. Boom, man. Out the back door, bells are going off, guys chasing me. You know, I got a theme song playing in my head. You know, You know, I hit this 12-foot chain link fence, went over the fence, and I was gone for 3 years. Boom, right? Doing what we do to you know, got to do my thing, right? Ended up in business college. Long story, right? But I ended up in business college, and I'm a drug dealer at the time, right? Which made perfect sense because I got no morals, I got no ethics, I got no sense of family, I got no sense of community. I'm just loose, you know? And the only thing I know is, you know, a lot of people seem to want a lot of drugs, so I'm in the drug business, right? And I'm studying marketing, production, distribution. I'm applying it to my business. Business is booming. I think college rocks. This is awesome. But I'm starting to overdose, you know what I mean? You know, it's catching up with me. They have a health fair. I go to the health fair. They say, you should go to a doctor. I go, yeah, I've heard that, right? So I go to a doctor, and he goes, you know what? Surprisingly, you have malignant cancer. I went, oh. So I flew back to L.A., told my family, I got malignant cancer, and they went, you know, my father went, great. What are we going to do about this? I said, well, probably go to a hospital, I guess. You know, it makes sense to me. So I went in there, and they told me, you know, you should get your affairs in order. And that was the first time I kind of like had a loss for words. I got stood up by this thing. They said, I was 19 years old, and they said, you need to get your affairs in order, which meant chances of you dying are pretty good. And I thought, wow, I'm 19 years old, and I don't have any affairs to get in order. I got nothing. You know, a couple of phone calls were pretty much good to go here. I got nothing. I got nothing to show for having been on this planet. I got nothing, right? And it really struck me. Everybody I knew had something. They were aiming at something. I wasn't. I was just trying to keep pace with this insatiable need that was slowly starting to rip my life apart at 19 years old, right? And so they did major surgery on my upper back, you know, put me in what's called nuclear medicine back then. It's chemotherapy now. I did that for a few days, and I didn't like the buzz you get off that, right? Believe me, it's a crummy buzz, right? So I went home and get loaded the way I do, and I beat the cancer thing. I'm a long-term cancer survivor, right? So I go back up to school. Hey, basically you're applauding severe drug abuse, right? Guy over here's like, yep, that's what I was applauding, all right. And I ended up back up north in college, right? And my mother calls me and says, we haven't been anywhere as a family for 10 years. We got to put this family back together. She was crying, right? I'm like, oh, great. I said, fine. She goes, come back for your birthday. We'll go anywhere you want to go, but we're going to go as a family. And I said, fine. So I flew back to L.A., and on November 7th, my birthday, we took off to fly to Guadalajara, and on the way there, the plane crashed. And my mother, my father, my little sister all died in the crash, and I survived. And I woke up in the wreckage, and my mother was laying right over there. My little sister Kimberly was right over there, and my father was over there. But I fractured my skull, broke my back in 3 places, crushed my arm and leg. I was paralyzed from the waist down. I was dying. But I could move my right arm, but I couldn't get to any of them to help them. I couldn't do anything to help any of them. And on my 22nd birthday, they all bled to death right in front of me. And I renounced God. I just said, any God that would take a kind, loving, gentle creature like my little sister Kimberly, leave a lying, cheating, thieving, dope fiend, alcoholic like me on the planet. I got no use for God of this type, and I renounced God. And some guys came up and they scavenged the plane wreck and took what they could find of value and left me up there to die. So I had no more love of you either. I didn't love God. I didn't love my fellow man. I was out, man. There's one angry, enraged little 22-year-old maniac up on, you know, and these guys finally came up and put me in the back of a flatbed truck with my mother and took me down to an aid station. They tagged her dead, tagged me dead, sat there smoking cigarettes, waiting for me to die, and I just didn't die. I was too pissed off to die. And finally they took me to a hospital in Los Mochis, Mexico, and they kept me, and the federales found that I was back in Mexico. So I got interrogated through an interpreter for 3.5 days. They wouldn't give me anything for pain. It was bad. It was a bad 3.5 days. I finally called some guys I knew in Northern California who flew a plane in, and they smuggled me out of Mexico, and I ended up in a hospital in Santa Monica, California. And Spent a long time in there and came out of there absolutely out of my mind. I had pictures in my head I knew I couldn't live with. You know, on the day that my family was going to be put back together, that I was going to be welcomed back into my family, I had gotten the message directly from God that the answer was no. You don't get that. You don't belong. And I came out of there with a self-loathing and a level of madness and an addiction that was just beyond anything I could describe. And I went on my last run. It lasted for 6 years. And for 6 years, how I lived through that 6 years, I have no idea. But when the whole thing was over, I came out of my last blackout. I had hair down to my elbows, full beard. I was 215 pounds, yellow. My heart was swollen. My thyroid had shut down. I couldn't touch my liver. My kidneys were so angry. I'd broken 74 bones. I had over 650 stitches in me. The cops were outside deciding whether or not to charge me with the attempted murder of David Luboff. And I don't even remember being pissed off at the guy. And I don't know what happened. It was a blackout. But I came out of that blackout and it was over. It was over. And I raised up 2 broken hands and I just said, help me. And there was somebody in the room that knew the difference. And they just said, he said it. And there was an ambulance and a cop car. And they took me out and threw me in that ambulance. And they took me to a UCLA emergency and pumped my stomach and said, get him out of here, he's going to die. And they took me to Olive View Medical Center, kept me for 3 to 5 days. I just kept getting sicker. And they took me by ambulance down to a place called Long Beach General Hospital, where and it was, the detox there was 42 Army cots in one room. There's 21 cots on each side of the room with sheets drawn between the cots, right? And detox was called riding the cot. And you got in and you grabbed those wood rails and you hung on. And I got in that cot and I told the guy, I said, I'm going to live or die right here. That's it. Let it rock. And I bucked up out of that cot twice, through seizures twice. And in this joint, you know, nobody was coming by at night going, you a little anxious tonight, Earl? You having a little trouble with the sleep cycle? You having a little problem with that? Can we give you a little something? Nobody. I would have been very happy to see that person. That never came by. He was, hang in there, buddy. I'm like, you know, guttural sounds come out of my mouth. Through a couple seizures, they take you, roll you into the hospital section, shoot you full of anticonvulsants, take your blood pressure, and go, 160 over 94. That's good enough. Get him back in the cot. Okay, great. Right back in the cot. And nobody slept because somebody's flipping out at any given moment and running out, and they just bring in the next guy and throw him in the cot. Right? 42 guys. I spent 47 days in that place. And I came out of there, and Ray W., my counselor, right? Ray W. came and he just said, Earl, if you don't want to die, you better go to Alcoholics Anonymous. It's the only place a guy like you's got a prayer. And I remember after everything that I'd been through, what my life had become, I had no family, no place to live. Everybody's dead. You know what I mean? I'm out of my mind. I can't tell fantasy from reality. I mean, I'm just nuts. And he said, you got to go to AA. And I looked at him and I went, really? Really? It's come to this, has it? Gotta go to the A&A. Oh, boy. I've never been there, but I know all about this place. It's bleak. Like I told you guys, this is bad news. A&A. Bunch of guys in there just put the plug in the jug, buddy. What are you doing? Not drinking. What are you doing later? Not drinking. I'm kind of new at this. Got any idea you probably shouldn't drink either. That's the rest of my life, right? How about just 2 in the back of the head right now, man? Just wrap it up. He said, just shut up and go to AA. I'm like, all right, no need to be rude about it. I'll go, So I ended up in the basement of a church on a Friday night, out of my mind, mad dogging everybody, crazy, alcoholism in full effect. And I just sat in the back, arms folded, tough guy, look on my face, just do not come up on me. Right? And all the old timers, they'd seen plenty of guys like me. I wasn't anything new to those guys. They just said, how you doing there, brother? There's some coffee right over there. Get yourself a seat and good luck with all that you got going on right there. That's good. They didn't come up on me. I just growled at them and went and got some coffee, thinking to myself, thank God those guys didn't come up to me, man. Because, people come up to you, they ask you the questions you don't have the answers for anymore. Like, how you doing? I don't know. What's going on? Don't know. Well, what, you got any plans, buddy? No, I no. You need yeah, just to get you to stop asking me questions. That's my plan. Just stop. Please stop. Don't talk to me. I don't talk. All right. No talking. I sat in the back, never took a chip, didn't take a cake till I was 3 years sober. And the only reason I took a cake when I was 3 is I had come in here and I had heard the message of hope and recovery from the podium of Alcoholics Anonymous. People got up and shared their experience, strength, and hope, and I knew I wasn't alone anymore. I knew that there was a shop for people like me. And I dared to believe that it was possible because you believed it was possible. And I wasn't going to tell you who I was, because if I did, I knew you'd ask me to leave, because that's what reasonable people would do. And you look like reasonable people. But you seem to be willing to let me just hover in the back and be around you. So I just came here every day, and I sat with you in meetings, and I listened for something to get a hold of. And if you're new, if you're looking for a way out, it's easy, you know. Finding a way out of here is easy. The trick is to find a way in. To find a way in, to find something to connect to, anything, right? And I sat in the back, because my brain automatically went, well, you're different to me, and you're different to me, and you don't know about me, and you don't know about me. I mean, that was just automatic. That's just my head just fired like that, you know? And when people got up and shared their experience, strength, and hope, it defeated that voice in my head. It quieted those sounds. And I would go, I'm like that, I'm like that. I drank like that. I drank like that. I have felt the desperation that man speaks of. I have felt the loneliness that lady speaks of. And I felt like I had found someplace that I could be a part of. My sponsor asked me to get the late great Donald Madden, who built me from the ground up. When I went and asked him, I heard him speak, and they said, you got to get a sponsor, man. I was like, fine, I get a sponsor. And this guy got up and he shared one night, and I thought, that guy, I want what that guy has. And what he had was he felt strongly about Alcoholics Anonymous, and he wasn't afraid to tell you that. He believed in this, and I wanted that. I wanted what he had, because I didn't feel strongly about anything. I wasn't connected to anything. I just felt alone and broken. And I had hope now, and I had a messenger that I could listen to, and I asked him to sponsor me, and he said yes. And I just started to cry, because I didn't realize it had been years since I'd asked anybody for help. I didn't realize it till I did it. When I did it, it was like, oh my God, I'm connected to another person. And it scared me, because I felt like he knew I needed him desperately. And I just put my head down on the desk and I just started to weep. And while I was doing that, he looked over at his assistant and he said, and I quote, "Oh, wonderful, he's destroyed." I looked up like, what? Oh my God, I have made a horrible mistake, right? And what he meant was, this is going to be fun, man. There's nothing in the way here. This kid is completely flatlined, man. He's got nothing. I can just take AA and pour it into this poor, miserable soul, and he's got nothing to fight me with. Now, and so he said, listen, you don't have to like what I tell you. You don't have to think it's a good idea. You just have to do it. It's a program of action. So you do what I say. I will give you contrary actions, and you will do them, and you will have a contrary result. And I just said, sounds stupid? Okay. You said I didn't have to like it. So I just did everything that man said for almost 14 years, up until the day he died. I called him every day. I did everything that he told me to do, and I grew up in Alcoholics Anonymous. That man built me from the floor up, the late, great Donald Madden. I owe him my life. And you should feel that way about your sponsor. That's what I think. If you're new, get a sponsor that you'll take a bullet for. That person that you'll do anything for. That's who he was to me, man. And that's what I needed. I needed something. There was just nothing in the way. And I started to grow up in Alcoholics Anonymous. I started to grow up, the first life I've ever had that made any sense at all, where I wasn't looking over my shoulder. I mean, and I got a lot of outside issues. There's no denying it. They're there. And I went and I got outside help for those things, because they were just beating the hell out of me, right? And Donald said, you need to go get help for that, right? Because you can't walk into a room with fluorescent lights without breaking into a sweat. Because they tortured me in Mexico in that hospital under fluorescent lighting. So I'd walk into meetings and sit under fluorescent lights, and this PTSD just go through the roof, and I'd just be sitting there sweating, and my heart palpitations, like, you know, I could taste the adrenaline in my mouth, my vision would get blurry, and I feel like I was losing my mind, and I didn't know why. I had to go get help for that, so I did. So I could just sit in a meeting, right? Without, you know, feeling like I was going to jump up and just go screaming out of the room any minute. And so I did the things I needed to do. I did those things so that I could stay here. because everything was about this for me. Everything was about, I have to stay here. And I'm so grateful that that's the way I got here, that I came here destroyed. I came here with no hope. I'm so grateful that I came here that way, because it meant that, I came here, I didn't know that you could leave. I didn't know you could go. I thought once you were in here, that was a wrap. That was it. Right? You're in AA. Just relax, man. You got nowhere else to go. And I remember the day somebody came up and said, Billy relapsed. I was like, Billy what? What now? He went out. Went out where? What are you saying? Say what you mean. He got drunk. What do you mean he got drunk? He's been in. He's in the home group. He puts the chairs away. How are we going to put the chairs away? That's what Billy does. No, he drank, Earl. That's unacceptable. How does that? Freaked me out, which wasn't hard to do, I will admit. I freaked out easily. It was like a running joke with my home group. Right? They'd see me get up in a meeting, walk outside, and somebody'd say, "Where's he going?" He goes, "We don't know, but we got to go get him because something lit him up. We'll find out." I'd be in the parking lot walking in a circle just like, "Well, that's crazy. I can't believe that's going on. I can't even do it. What are we supposed to do about that?" Just, Earl, breathe. Right. In with the good air, out with the bad. In with the good air, out with the bad. I had a lot of help. You know what I mean? I had a lot of help. But I had my boys. You know what I mean? All the guys that Donald Madden sponsored, we all hung out together. He was known as the sponsor to the damned. And I took a cake when I was 3 years sober because Donald Madden asked me when I was 2.5 to give him a cake. And it was the proudest moment of my life. And we went to the Wednesday night wrist slashers meeting, right? Which was a meeting I frequented regularly. It was a little crazy, but I felt very comfortable there. And we went in and we went up to give him the cake, and he took the cake and he said, and I quote, "My name is Donald Madden and I'm an alcoholic. And the miracle of my life is that I'm sober, and who needs to know that is me. Thank you." And sat down. And it was like he branded that on my forehead. I was just like, wow. Telling him like it is, man. That's my sponsor, right? He sat down next to me just beaming. And I waited for 6 months till that November. That was March 5th, right? And November 6th of that year, I'd asked him to give me a cake. And that Wednesday, we went back to the Wednesday night wrist slashers meeting, and he gave me a cake, and I stood up and I said, "My name is Earl Hightower, and I'm an alcoholic. The miracle of my life is that I'm sober, and who needs to know that is me." And I sat down, and he looked at me and he went, "Oh, that was wonderful." And I said, "Yes, it was. You said it here 6 months ago." And he said, "Oh, well, of course I did." That was amazing, man. I'll tell you how much that guy, what kind of sponsor he was. I got homicidal, like real kind. Not, I'm just barking. All the way through homicidal. And I was going to the Saturday night Ohio Street meeting where I had the cleanup commitment, because cleanup, you don't have to talk to anybody, right? So those were my kind of commitments where you didn't have to talk to anybody. And I knew that they all got there at 6 o'clock, set up chairs, made coffee, had the meeting before the meeting started at 8:30, went till 10, my commitment started at 10:20. And I was showing up and it was a little after 6, and I was gone, man. I was completely out of my mind. And I was committed to the fact that I was going to walk into that room and somebody was going to mouth off to me. Somebody was going to say, "What are you doing here at 6?" And I was going to kill them. Just that simple, man. It was going to happen. I know my life was over, but so was somebody else's. We were going down as a duo right there, right? And I walked in the back of that door, and Donald Madden saw the look on my face. And he raced to the podium. And before anybody could say anything to me, he went, "Earl!" And I just kind of snapped out of it. I looked up at him, and he said, "It's 6:22, and you're late." See what he did? He let everybody in that room know that he expected me to be there. I was there because he had requested my presence, for me to be there early. And I just looked at him, and I thought into tears. I said, how do you know? How do you know me like that? In just a glance, you can tell. There's no hide. I can't hide from you. How did you get in here? I keep everybody out. And you got in. How is that possible? And I just looked at him and I just, walked up to him and I said, would you give me something to do? He said, yeah, go help and put the chairs away. And I said, thanks. And I went and put the chairs away. And everybody left me alone. And that was the kind of sponsor I had. And I stayed here long enough for somebody to say to me, Christopher said, have you heard about this book? They have a book. Now I was a few years sober. And I said, I have one somewhere. And he said, well, I got these tapes, and I think you and I we should do this, go through the book thing they keep talking about. I said, well, if you're going to do it, I'm going to do it. He was my original friend. Donald had made me go talk to Christopher, who was wearing 3 knives at the time. Thank you very much, Donald. And we didn't kill each other, and we became friends and are friends, close friends, best friends to this day. And we sat down with the big book and a copy of tapes by Joe and Charlie. The big book comes alive, right? Solid, right down the middle, A&A, right? And we sat down with our books and we're reading the tapes and we're reading the book. And I mean, I wish I had a tape of this, a video of us listening to these, going through these. Because I'm not kidding you. Every 5 minutes it was like this. So we'd be sitting there quietly reading it, and one of us would go, hey, you know that thing they say in the meetings there? Here it is, right here. It's right in here. And they'd go on and kind of explain it rather nicely, right there. And the other guy would go, I know, we should go. Shall we continue? I think we should keep going. Yeah, let's go. Hell, we're on page 7. Let's go. And we got through the book, and it was a good thing because I was sponsoring people poorly. I remember the first guy ever asked me to sponsor him. He walked up to me, in a room with 250 people in it. And this guy walked up to me and he said, my name's Steve. I'm an alcoholic. I got 6 days. Will you sponsor me? And I just looked at him and went, what is wrong with you? All these people, and you found your way right to this train wreck. That's impressive. And I had all these guys, you know what I mean? These just hopeless people were coming, you got to sponsor me, man. I mean, Donald, he scares us, we'll go with you. And I was like, all right. And so I said, Christopher, we got to get through these steps fast, man. These guys are coming strong at us, right? I'm like, all right, we'd finish step 1, and I go, you guys got to do step 1. I was like, get that step 2 rolling. Get it rolling. Let's go. And we just keeping a step ahead of these guys rolling through the book. And then we did our first step study. It was 8 people. It was 6 people and me and Christopher, and we took them through the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And we did it because we didn't know what else to do. We had this new information, and we thought, well, we're not supposed to keep this a secret. I'm pretty sure we're supposed to let people know about this. So let's go, right? So we got these other 6 guys, and we started. The meeting started. You're not going to believe this meeting, right? Because we got sat down and went, you're not going to believe this, but open to page 1 of the doctor's opinion. It's Roman numerals, and I know that of the 6 of you, none of you know what Roman numerals are. So just find where it says the doctor's opinion and let's go, right? So we would go through this thing. And that was almost 29 years ago. And all 8 of us are still sober. All 8. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. And we found out as we read this book and we started following the book thumpers, the guys we'd been avoiding at all costs, right? But the guys that have been saving our lives all the time. I remember going to a meeting and they were talking about the 4-step. I hadn't done the 4-step. This guy, I was just sitting there going crazy, right? And the guy said, well, when I did the 4-step, I did boom, 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 boom. And I thought, that made perfect sense to me. Second guy raised his hand and said, well, I did something different. I did bup, 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 bup. I thought, okay, that made sense too. Getting a little confused, but all right. But the 4th guy, I'm like, does anyone in here have a gun? Because now I need a gun. Until Mike Ross, the late great Mike Ross, raised his hand and had a big book in it. And they said, Mike, and he goes, Mike Alcoholic. Has anybody in here read this goddamn thing? Here's how you do a 4-step. And you open the big book and read the book. And I'm just like, thank God for that guy, right? A clue, maybe the big book is a good idea, right? You want to know what one of the greatest gifts of the big book is? You can go to meetings of Alcoholics Anonymous, and when people get up here and start talking all kind of smack, you can tell the difference between what's real and what isn't. If it's in the big book, solid. If it ain't in the big book, forget about it. Big book. I'm a thumper now. I am. I believe, I bet my life on that book. And my life is going great. I got a life beyond my wildest dreams because of that circle and that triangle. Ancient spiritual symbol stands for mind, body, and spirit brought together as a whole human being. And therein lies the balance I've sought my whole life and never had, drunk or sober, until I came here. And this place adopted that symbol. It's the same stuff. Unity, service, and recovery, same thing. Unity's the body, I bring it here. I can't stay sober, but we seem to be able to together. What's the first word in the steps? We admitted that we're powerless. Our whole lives are unmanageable as a result of this one thing. We have singleness of purpose, and that's what it's about, right? Recoveries of the mind, the greater aspect of my disease, right? Detox centers are not kicking out winners, my friends. It ain't 72 hours and free. It just ain't what's happening. Because this isn't about stopping drinking, it's about how do I stay stopped. And the only way I'm going to stay stopped is if I can get comfortable sober. And the only way I know to get comfortable sober is to work the 12 steps. That's what they're for. So, Christopher and I sat down and we worked them. Step 1 is, what's the problem? Lack of power is my dilemma. Well, if that's my problem, what's my solution? Step 2, could I come to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity? Soundness of mind, relieve me of the obsession to drink. Be free for the first time since I was 12 years old. Yep, it's going to have to be that. Step 3 says, get out on your knees and do something about it. Turn your will and your life over to the care of God. Whether you understand them or not, turn it over. Give it up. There's consciousness beyond your own out there that you desperately need. If you have a powerful faith, bring it. There will be no conflict. If you're atheist, agnostic, don't use that as an excuse to be in here and go, oh, they talked about God. I can't stay. The hell you can't. You can stay here. You can stay here. Stay. And nobody in here is going to convince you that you need to get a God. Yeah, well, they will. People in here will. I just lied to you. I apologize. People in here will, some people will tell you, you got to find a God. And if you're just an atheist and you don't believe in God, that's all right. I knew a woman named Gloria Scott, fantastic human being, passed away sober 23 years. Impossible if that woman was sober. Atheist. They said, you got to have a higher power. She said, okay, Neil Young. And everybody just kind of went, all right, shook their head. And at her memorial, I remember people getting up, and they're women of all types, from bangers to bankers. These women getting up and sharing their love for Gloria and that she had saved their life. And a guy got up and he said, I remember I was fascinated when he said it was so beautiful. He goes, isn't it interesting that Gloria was an atheist and she led such a spiritual life of service? Interesting, right? So, belief in God, no belief in God. Not sure about God, all welcome here. Come here to address your alcoholism. We will help you. 4 and 5 is about me. 6 and 7 is about God. 8 and 9 is about everybody else. That's the whole team. Nobody else to play with. That's everybody. And the order is interesting. First, check my side of the street. Get this understood. Where am I standing? Hook it up with God or consciousness beyond my own. Whatever you want to say. And then go out into the world with other people. Now, there's very little conversation in the book. And then 4 and 5, me, 6 and 7, God, 8 and 9, everybody else. If you'll notice in the book, 4 and 5, a lot of conversation. 6 and 7, zip, zip. Because they don't want you getting hung up on that. Because they know you read ahead and you saw 9, and nobody wants any part of 9. So you will get, how long you been on 7? Or, well, I'm working on humility, humbleness. How long you been doing that? About 8 years now. And I'm getting there. It's like, that ain't gonna happen, man. Just hook it up, let's go. Right? 8 and 9, list, very, very sorry, here's your money, back in the house. Let's get it done. People don't want their money. They don't want your money. They want their money. That's what they want. They want their money. You wonder if somebody should be on that list? Just ask yourself, how free do you want to be? You want a little itty bitty baby buzz in here, or you want a big bad awesome buzz? Me? Out there? Please. No baby buzz for me. You never heard me. My whole life, I never said, no, thank you, I've had enough. Ever. If you can say that, it ain't true. all you get from me is like thud. Oh, yeah. He's had enough. I'm out, right? So 8 and 9, just make your demands. Demands means to change. Change. 10, 11, and 12 keep me in the game. 10 me, 11 God, 12 you. Same team. But it just keeps me in the groove, keeps me in that sobriety group. Because I've been given the opportunity in here to get a blank canvas upon which to paint my new life. To reboot my whole existence. And Alcoholics Anonymous gives me that. See, I thought this was, I was going to learn how to not drink and use in here. I thought that that's what this was about. No, it's a design for living. It's a design for living. It gives me an opportunity to begin again. Right? So that's what I've done in here, is I rebuilt my life from the ground up. Started small. I mean, I didn't know how to pay taxes. I didn't know how to be a friend. I didn't know how to do anything when I came here. I'd been underground my whole life. I had a great education and no ability to put that into play at all. I came to Alcoholics Anonymous, and my uncle was a painting contractor. I called him up and said, I need to learn how to make a living. He said, get on a bus and come right down here. So I bought an $8 one-way bus ticket. I went down to Palm Springs, California, and worked on a painting crew for a few weeks. My uncle said, you know how to paint, go get a job. Gave me $8, and when I got on a bus, came back to LA, paint store opened at 7 a.m., I was standing there at 6:45. Right? Door open, I walked over and stood by the coffee pot. I didn't know how to talk to anybody. You know, I could talk a little bit in AA, a little bit, you know, but not other regular people. And I stood there, and a guy came up and he goes, you paint? I said, yes, sir. He said, get on the truck. I got on the truck. Painted for that guy for 2 years. Perfect job for me, man. Painting apartments, Navajo white on Navajo white. Just give me a bucket and a brush, and I just roll, man. Just roll all day. Just blank canvas, my insanity just pouring out on this blank wall. You know, I just paint till I hit a corner. You know, and just go, man, all day long. Grab something to eat on the way home, go home, get an hour's sleep, get up, do it again. And hit a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous every single day. Hit a couple on Saturday, hit a couple on Sunday, and repeat. Thinking this is, and all I was doing was just doing my best to stay sober, and what happened was a whole life. Job turned into a career. It had nothing to do with painting houses. It had to do with running into somebody and having a conversation. A door opened up and I walked through it, because Donald told me when a door opens, walk through it. So I did. And the job turned into another job, and the job turned into a career, and I started having relationships, and I started, you know, and I got commitments in AA, and I was taking out panels, and then somebody heard my story and said, you should be speaking in AA. And I said, no, I should not be speaking in AA. I got nothing anybody can be interested in. They go, no, your story's crazy. You gotta get up there. Right? So I said, okay. When somebody asks me to speak, I'll do it. And right there, this guy goes, I got a meeting tomorrow night. You want to speak? I said, no. He said, will you? And I said, yes. I called up Donald. I said, what about this speaking thing? Do I have to tell my whole story? Can I leave out the plane crash? And he said, oh, you're editing now? You're an editor? I said, all right, I don't think I need to talk to you anymore. Goodbye. And I just went and I told my story, and it's, you know, it ended up flying all over the world and doing all this stuff. And then I got real weird. For me, speaking got real weird. I've always been the reluctant speaker, and I didn't speak for 6 years. I just put chairs away. I went back to putting chairs away. All my sponsors said, because Donald had died, and Luther's my sponsor now. And I said, Luther, can I not speak? And he said, sure, you can be a good AA member and not speak. So I shut my mouth for 6.5 years. Didn't say a word to AA. Didn't share in meetings. I didn't, nothing. Right? Put the chairs away, sponsor my guys, went to meetings, good AA's foot soldier. And then my sponsor called me up and he goes, I think that's enough of that. And I said, okay. And the next talk came in, I said, sure. And I started speaking again a couple of years ago and started doing this again. And it's okay now. It's okay now because it isn't about me anymore. It doesn't have anything to do with me. Earl H has nothing to do with me. I'm Earl. I'm Earl. I'm an alcoholic of the hopeless variety. I'm one among many. I just in front of this every now and then, and I'm really happy when it's over because I get to go back across the room and be on the other side with the rest of you. Right? It's because, and this is the thing that I count on. I'm up here because Blaine is here. I'm up here because Tony's here. I'm up here because Alexa's is here. This isn't about me. It's about the newcomer. It has to always be about the newcomer. And look, that's not me being a good guy, and that's not me going, oh, they're going to love me if I say it's better than you. That's bullshit. It's not anything about any of that. It's about, I don't want to die drunk. And I was told that the purpose of a meeting is to have a place where a newcomer can come and hear a message of hope and recovery. So when I get up here and talk, I try to experience the laughter. I try to tell the truth. I try to speak from the heart, to be in this moment, not in any other moment, because when I was drinking and using, the whole point of all that was to get me out of right here, right now, to get me out of this moment, so that I didn't have to feel the pain and the anguish and the loneliness that was the place I lived in. So what alcoholism did to me was it took my life away from me one moment at a time. It killed me one moment at a time, because I was not able to be present in my life. So I was not alive. Alcoholics Anonymous, that's precisely what it has given me back. Is get between those, just right now. In this moment, in this room, tonight. This is all there is this, right now. Us together, celebrating this incredible thing that has come into our lives. This moment right now. That's what Alcoholics Anonymous gave me back, was my life, one moment at a time. So if you're new and you're thinking this is about not drinking and using, I respectfully disagree. This is about now. Getting back now. And now. And now. And what happens when you string those nows together is a life happens. What happens is that something beyond your wildest dreams occurs. The life that is meant to be for you. The life our imagination cannot comprehend what is available in this experience for each of us. So if you're new, please stay. Please stay and commit to just this moment. That's all you got to do. And when we all go to bed sober tonight, we are victorious. We all win. The hopeless, the throwaways, the broken toys, man. That's who we are. And we rise up and we do remarkable things. I believe this to be the most powerful spiritual movement on the face of the earth. Because what we do is we get our lives back and then we share that experience, strength, and hope with others. We are about community. We are about service. We're not about division. We're not about rhetoric. We're not about this one against that one. We got bleeding deacons, but we pay very little attention to them. What we do is we serve. We serve our fellow man. And in so doing, we rise up. So come stay with us and catch the biggest buzz you will ever know. Being sober amongst people like this. I wish you peace. Thank you very much.